Walt Frazier, that's my guy.
Across the midcourt, unleashes to Frazier, drives ahead of the field, down the lane, layup is good.
Willis Reed was our center, he was our captain, and he was the go-to guy.
Dave DeBusschere, the final piece of the puzzle.
Now, the cast was complete.
And all we had to do was seize that moment, and we did.
Willis hits that tunnel.
I think we see Willis coming out.
All over the arena, jaws were dropping.
There he comes right now.
Hey, man, we got these guys.
3, 2, 1. We have a new NBA champion.
A team in every sense of the word, the New York Knicks of 1969-70 played a brand of basketball where the whole was indeed greater than the sum of its parts. Under head coach Red Holtzman, the Knicks would come together in a season unlike any that had come before, leading the league in victories and standing on the cusp of a championship after playoff wins against the Baltimore Bullets and Milwaukee Bucks. On May 8, 1970, led by Knicks captain Willis Reed's dramatic entrance and a dominant performance by Walt Clyde Frazier, the Knicks would defeat the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 7 of the NBA Finals and capture their first ever NBA championship, solidifying the Garden as the Mecca of basketball and creating a defining moment in the history of Madison Square Garden.
Coming to MSG, the new building, after being in the old Madison Square Garden, we were very excited about moving here, and we was excited about the fact that the team had started to show some progress.
The seeds for the 1970 team had been planted throughout the decade of the 60s. Because the Knicks had such a checkered history up until that point, not a lot of people except hardcore basketball people knew what was going on. One by one, Eddie Donovan, the general manager, Red Holtzman, the coach, added the pieces.
Red Holtzman was a guy who was hard but fair. There was only one set of rules for Frazier, for Reed, for the last guy on the bench.
Red Holtzman's mantra was hit the open man, which means don't force a shot. And look to see who's cutting, who's open.
His emphasis was about team play. Basketball's a simple game. Hit the open man, see the basketball on defense.
He knew how to coach men, and that was with several very simple rules.
Defense is number one, and passing to the open man was number two.
That was his main story. I mean, working on our defense, making sure we was able to stop the ball, see the ball, block out, rebound.
Well, he always had the utmost respect of his players. He never saw color. If you work hard in practice, you get in the game. That's why, unequivocally, he's the most successful Knicks coach ever.
I've seen a lot of sports teams in my life, and I've seen captains, but Willis Reed was probably, in my opinion, the greatest captain of any sports team I've ever seen.
A great gentleman off the court, but a fierce competitor once the whistle was blown.
He was our center, he was our captain, and he was the go-to guy.
I think from the time I came here in New York to play, I think our first year we won 17 or 18 games. We were probably close to being the worst team in the league. But that was a beginning.
Dick Barnett was really one of the all-time best defensive players as a guard that I've ever seen.
Incredibly intelligent player, great shooter.
I think the most significant part of that was the transformation of the growth and the development and the maturity of Walt Frazier.
We saw the raw talent, the physical makeup, his intelligence and abilities to get everybody involved in the game.
in Bill Bradley's first 2.5 years with the Knicks, they really couldn't find a spot for him. He started, he came off the bench, he was a shooting guard, he played a little bit up front, but Dollar Bill really couldn't find a niche with that team.
I was a failure. I was too slow to play guard. I was constantly being picked off and went from very high acclaim to very high disdain.
Going from being a favored ball player to people calling him out as, a disappointment, and struggling to find a way to play in this game and ultimately becoming an all-star.
When they traded Bellamy and Butch Comize to Detroit, we got Dave DeBusschere.
Dave DeBusschere was a very physical player, and he had a great outside shot.
But about a week after they made the Dave DeBusschere trade, Cazzie Russell, who had been in the starting lineup, broke his ankle. So now you've got a hole in the starting lineup. And Red does basically the only thing he can do. He moves Bill Bradley from the third guard to the starting small forward position. And voila, Bill Bradley finally found his place. And from that point on, the roster was complete of that championship team.
Well, back then, we used to sleep online for Knicks playoff tickets. I didn't care. I was just lucky. I was grateful to be in the Garden and see that team.
I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now.
The 69-70 Knicks went into that season with all sort of expectations.
The season really began the previous year when we lost to Boston in the final, and we knew that we had a team and that next year was going to be our year.
Bill Russell had retired in Boston, and that basically meant the end of their dynasty, where they just dominated the league for years and years and years. Now it was wide open.
We won, and every time we won, we knew we were going to win the next time.
And it's intercepted. Put in by Dave DeBusschere, 105 to 104. 10 seconds to go. Intercepted by Frazier. Frazier shoots. The follow. There's a whistle on the play as Frazier went up with 2 seconds to go. Go in front. They throw in. Reed is set. It's over. All over, the Knicks win 106 to 105.
It became Knick time in the city, and people were totally engaged with the team.
Well, New York fans always say they're not fans, they're fanatics. They get into the game no matter what it is.
Well, back then, we used to sleep online for Knicks playoff tickets. I didn't care. I was just lucky. I was grateful to be in the Garden and see that team.
Baltimore was always public enemy number one as far as that Knicks team was concerned.
They had a tough team. We knew it wasn't going to be an easy road to the championship. It never is.
We were so evenly matched as two teams, and we're going to go right to the wire, and we did.
It was like nip and tuck every game. It wasn't too much between these two teams. And one of the things I always felt is that even though we lost that series, I felt as though we played well enough to win it.
The thought about Milwaukee, and that's the first year that Milwaukee has Kareem, is that they're still maybe a year or two away.
But we understood the same attitude throughout our championship run was take nothing for granted. You got to try to win every quarter and to win this championship.
Well, we were one series away from being the world champions, and now is our time. He tore his tensor muscle. The muscle allows you to lift your leg. And so he was out.
I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now.
The feeling about the 1970 Knicks versus the 1970 Lakers in the championship finals was that the Knicks were a very good team, but the Lakers may have been a great team.
And now let's look at the matchup of tonight's championship game.
There you see the key matchup, of course, is Wilt Chamberlain and Willis Reed.
Fans were apprehensive, man. They've struggled a long time. They've never saw a championship, the Knicks fans, since the 50s.
No way. I felt they were just too physically big.
I didn't think we'd win. I was rooting for us. I was a big Knicks fan, but I just thought that their team was better.
We were a wonderful team. We had some very, very great players. But they had those superstars.
Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, they were a pretty dominating team.
You knew it would be formidable to beat those guys. But we felt confident because we had the home court advantage.
We always felt that we come to one game, if you're going to be at Madison Square Garden, nobody was going to beat us.
So we weren't overconfident, but we were confident that we could take the Lakers.
Now the New York Knickerbockers.
And now here they are, the New York Knickerbockers. At the forwards, number 22, Dave DeBusschere.
And now the audience stands.
The two teams split the first two games in New York, then split two games at the Forum in LA. Both of those games went to overtime. Game 3, of course, was marked by the very famous Jerry West shot from half court. Game 5, of course, is the pivotal game. Whoever wins this one goes up 3-2. And the Lakers got off to a terrific start in that game.
Well, basically, we had a 3-game series. I mean, you just forget the first 4 games. It's who's going to win 2 of the next 3 games.
Midway through the first quarter, Willis is driving toward the basket against Wilt, and all of a sudden goes down in a heap, and he stays down.
Reed is getting up very slowly and looks like he might have pulled the muscle on his right side.
He tore his tensor muscle. The muscle allows you to lift your leg. And so he was out.
And the Garden holds its breath because now the worst has happened.
I'll never forget, we went into the huddle, and I think it was Bill Bradley said we should try a 3-2 offense.
And we devised a whole new offense that we'd never executed. It was kind of like a zone offense.
So we tried that, and it neutralized Chamberlain because Chamberlain had to come out and guard guys on the perimeter, which he wasn't comfortable doing.
You could just hear the difference of the crowd, how they were yelling and screaming. I mean, it was a phenomenal feeling in the building, even in the training room.
So by going into that particular offense, it baffled them, befuddled them. We were able to prevail in Game 5, which was a pivotal game for us at the time.
A sensational victory for the New York Knicks, doing it without Willis Reed, moving in front 3-2.
So after the miraculous win, the Knicks go to LA for Game 6.
Well, Willis didn't play. Chamberlain pulverized us. I think he got over almost 40 points and 20 rebounds. But we had life, man. It was only tied 3-3, and we had the final game to be played back in New York.
Right after the loss in Game 6, Willis Reed and Danny Whalen, the legendary Knicks trainer, took a red-eye flight out of LAX, arrived in New York at the crack of dawn, got to Madison Square Garden at about 8 in the morning or thereabouts, where Danny worked Willis out.
And I realized that I couldn't flex the leg, but if I kind of ran with the legs straight, I mean, I could run. So I started my treatment and stuff, and it started to giving me the shots to try to deaden the pain.
My man, the great photographer, George Kalinsky, was in the locker room when Willis Reed got the shot.
And I said, Willis, I don't want you to hurt yourself for life. It's just a game. And Willis said, it's not just a game. This is a possible championship. And if I have to crawl on my hands and knees, I'm going to go out there and play tonight.
We're in the locker room. He's in the locker room. We leave the locker room, go out to the court to play. Don't know if he's going to actually make it.
And then eventually Holtzman came in and ran us out of the training room. Say, hey guys, you have to get focused on the game, whether Willis played tonight or not.
Unbeknownst to us, the Busher goes into the training table and says, if you can give us a few minutes tonight, big fella, we'll take it from there.
I was always watching the clock like tick, clock, tick. It was like it was going so slowly. And finally, when I realized that we were going to reach the pinnacle, you know, it was like a dream come true.
I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now.
Madison Square Garden's illustrious history has touched the lives of millions. In celebration of the Garden's transformation, a variety of unique displays let you experience the moments that are the heart and soul of the world's most famous arena. The Defining Moments exhibits presented by SAP. During the 1970 playoffs, the Knicks moved skillfully into the finals to deliver their first NBA championship in dramatic style. With Willis Reed's surprise return in Game 7 and a career-defining performance by Walt Frazier, the Knicks' first championship solidified the Garden's place as the Mecca of basketball. Relive the excitement with the 1970 Eastern Division Championship trophy and Mayor Lindsay's New York Knicks Day Declaration. Madison Square Garden and signature partner SAP present the Defining Moments exhibit, where the world's most famous arena comes alive.
It was great anticipation. Both teams came out, and Willis Reed was not there.
And suddenly there's a little rumble in the crowd.
And Willis came out, and it's one of the loudest noises I ever heard in my life.
It wasn't only the noise, it was the passion behind the noise.
And I swear to God, on my mother's grave, the entire Los Angeles Laker team stopped and turned around and see Willis Reed come out.
And I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now. 6 feet 10 from Grambling. The captain of the Knicks, the most valuable player of the NBA.
All of a sudden, this guy comes out, not limping, I'm talking about dragging his leg.
When Willis walked out, I couldn't believe it.
All over the arena, jaws were dropping.
They were just screaming and yelling. The decibel was outrageous.
I've never heard that kind of roar and uplift in the Garden, ever.
It's like, Willis is going to play. Willis is going to play.
I would love to say that that was all contrived, okay? his late arrival, but, you know, he was receiving treatment.
The Knicks welcome him. Willis hits a couple of shots, a couple of jumpers, and now the place goes crazy. They're actually cheering warm-up baskets.
It's a standing ovation at the new Madison Square Garden. This is a 38 sellout crowd, and they have been reacting to their Knickerbockers the same way all season long. And he has hit 2 in a row, and they are beside themselves.
The fans are saying, everything's all right, the captain is here. And I'm saying, boy, this is a hell of a predicament to be in. Here I am, a guy on one leg, gonna play the greatest scorer ever, big man. The guy, only guy ever scored 100 points in a game. And I'm gonna try to do it on one leg.
The game started, Willis hit the first 2 shots. It's over. Lakers they're done.
The die was cast after that. I mean, just the whole, once we got out by 12 or 13, the Lakers never really made a bona fide run, but I was always watching the clock like tick, clock, tick. It was like it was going so slowly. And finally, when I realized that we were going to reach the pinnacle, It was like a dream come true.
And now 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We have a new NBA champion.
113.99 became the most famous score in Knick history, but one thing that was lost was the game Walt Frazier had.
Cross the midcourt, looses to Frazier, drives ahead of the field, down the lane, layup is good.
He recognized the captain was out, and Clyde actually took over and decided this was my moment, and it certainly was.
Taylor double teamed, and again they steal it. Walt Frazier.
Walt Frazier, very simply, had the best game of a Hall of Fame career in the most important game he ever played, and the most important game in New York Knicks history.
We personified team because you can't mention Frazier without Bradley, without DeBusschere, without Reed, without Barnett. And that's how the Knicks fans viewed us, and that's how we viewed ourselves.
We were players from different backgrounds that came together with one unifying objective, and that was to win a world championship. And it was as simple as that. We had great imagination, we had great discipline, we had great selflessness. And that's why we were a great team.
We did something that no other team in the history of the Knicks had ever done. And that's great to have been a part of that moment with those men.
3, 2, 1. We have a new NBA champion.